the Auburn Blitz Podcast, your direct source for all Auburn all the time with Brett Pritchard, Faith Richardson, and Randy Lee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Blitz Podcast here on this Tuesday morning. We're glad that you joined us wherever and whenever it is that you join us each and every day here on the Auburn Blitz Podcast and making Auburn Blitz part of your daily Auburn athletic intake. I'm Brett Pritchard. I'm coming to you solo today, early on a Tuesday morning. We have practice coming up. Faith and I will be at practice here in a couple of hours. So did want to jump on, though, this morning and talk about some of the things that Coach Freeze talked about yesterday in his presser, namely, unfortunately, another injury, and the injury is in a place that, frankly, it's not good. It's a room that we were concerned about, going into the season as far as quality and depth. And after week one against Baylor, you felt really good about it. But then you learned that Damari Alston suffered a shoulder injury, and he missed this past week against Ball State. No big deal. I mean, if he'd had to have gone, probably could have, but precautionary. But did learn that Damari is a game time decision coming up this Saturday, so don't know if we'll see him again for the second consecutive week. But more importantly, another running back, Durell Robinson, out what appears to be for an extended amount of time and suffered a freak injury, some type of blood collecting on his thigh. And, Durell had a couple of carries in the game, had a long touchdown run, and Coach Freeze said, look, got in the locker room, didn't even really know he was injured, and looked down, and he said that he'd never seen an injury like that in his life in coaching. Had a lot of blood that had collected on his thigh, and they had to send him off to Birmingham to get that, looked at and worked on. And I think he's got a pretty big incision to relieve that blood off his thigh. So don't know a timetable on Durell Robinson, which is concerning because now you possibly don't have Damari Alston. Again, game time decision, and Durell Robinson's out. Jeremiah Cobb had a great game against Ball State, kind of showed that he could be the guy. It looks like he's going to be the guy. And now next man up, Omar Mabson, who we've been talking about for the last several weeks, and really had a good fall camp and saw him a couple of times in the Ball State game. But when you look at a position room and all of a sudden, going into a season, you start going, oh, we got 3, 4, 5 guys, and, it's going to be running back by committee, but this is football. And just after 2 games, you're down 2 guys. And now you're down to really one primary back in Jeremiah Cobb and then Omar Mabson, who's a true freshman, and also, Alvin Henderson. So you got a situation now in the running back room that, again, you look at it. We know Durell Robinson is going to be out, but how close is Damari Alston to being out? And do you want to play him against the South Alabama team? We'll just have to wait and see as the week goes on. Again, we'll be at practice coming up here in a couple of hours, and then we're going to do a video after practice to kind of give everybody an update as soon as we can, as soon as we leave practice. But I definitely think there's some concern here just because of numbers. And let me just say this: this South Alabama team, this is not Ball State. This is a decent football team. And South Alabama has been a competitive football program for a while. They look forward to coming into Jordan-Hare Stadium in a morning atmosphere with a great opportunity. They know they're massive underdogs, 24.5-point underdogs to Auburn. So they're going to see this as, hey, we have nothing to lose. And, they've got some really good players, namely a running back transfer from Ole Miss a couple of years ago, and Kentrell Bullock. He's a guy that had, upwards of 800-plus yards rushing last year, and off to a great start this year. Has toted the football 47 times for 237 yards and has already scored 3 touchdowns. They're putting points on the board. Even against Tulane, they lost a very close game to Tulane, 33-31 last week. Defeated Morgan State 38-21 the first game. They're putting points on the board. So Auburn's defense, will have some challenges. We heard Coach Freeze talk about that. Thought that obviously the defense played much better against Ball State than they did Baylor, but of course it's 2 totally different teams. And but the effort was better. Said that felt like they still busted some coverage that they need to work on, but overall the effort was where it needed to be, and it needs to get better. And again, going back, we saw Baylor go on the road and beat an SMU team by scoring a boatload of points. And, you probably look back at that game if things progress in the way Baylor's season progresses, that's a team that's going to be challenging for a playoff berth. Now, I know their defense is terrible, but they're going to be challenging for a playoff berth. And I think it's because they don't have a very tough schedule, and they're going to score a lot of points on everybody they play. Maybe until they get to Houston at the end of the season. So, again, I hate that it's not better news. I do want to go through some of the things that Coach Freeze talked about. In addition to obviously the biggest news of Durell Robinson being out. And again, if you look at Durell Robinson, he's carried the ball 3 times this season, once against Baylor and 2 against Ball State. But, he had a really, really good touchdown run in that game, and you felt like maybe would be getting some more carries coming up this Saturday with another week for Damari to try to fully heal before Auburn heads off to Oklahoma. But now you may see something different. So, we'll talk about that a little bit more. But Coach Freeze in his presser yesterday, some things that he wanted to kind of get across. Talking about injuries again, Towns Magoo kicked the ground on that field goal that came up short, and then he kind of hobbled off, and he was asked if he thought Towns Magoo would be good, and he said thinks he'll be okay. He's moving around pretty good, tweaked his ankle maybe a little bit, but they think he'll be good to go. So that's huge. Again, with Alex McPherson's condition and his strength and ability to kick long field goals, Towns Magoo's really the guy. And so, that's very important. That's something of note there. Talked about Sylvester Smith, and he needed to. We caught up with him after the game Saturday night, and had an interview that we pushed out on our Instagram and our YouTube. But Sylvester Smith really, really challenged the team. And this is what Coach Freeze said. He said it was really nice to see because they challenged the secondary. And Sylvester said that, and he told me this after the game, that, the biggest thing that they did was they listened to the talk about how poor they tackled. And he said their goal was to come out against Ball State and show everybody they could tackle. And they did. Really taking that chatter from the press and from fans, and really, really stepping up to the plate. And, the physicalness of the secondary was there, but also some more on Sylvester. He said, I know the snaps may not be significant from the past years, but he has some experience. We need a voice back there to settle us down if we're creating some bust on our own. We need him to lead. Thought he responded to our challenge very well, played really solid football. I played physical and tackled well. Missed assignments were way down. So really proud of him. He had a really good hit on a special teams play. Again, we talked about it Saturday night on the postgame reaction show that, man, he led Auburn in tackles. He was very physical, had a very physical mindset. And that's what you need moving forward, because it's only going to get tougher from here on out. Talked about Jeremiah Cobb a little bit, and talked about having the faith in him to be the guy, and that's what we talked about yesterday on the show. And had a 100-plus yard rushing game, and we'll set up to have the same against South Alabama. So South Alabama scores a lot of points, but they give up a bunch. They gave up 21 to Morgan State and gave up 33 to Tulane. So Auburn's going to have their chances. What will we see out of Jackson Arnold? Will we see more of the offense? I know that's one of the things that a lot of you talked about on the post-game reaction show is, will we see more of the offense? Will we see more down the field throws? Will we try to take the top off defenses? And I know Coach Freeze said, smart football is taking what the defense gives you and trying to not force things that aren't there. But I think in preparation for this stretch on the road coming up with Oklahoma and Texas A&M, and then when Georgia comes to Auburn, again, how much do you want to show, but how much do you not want to work on leading up to that in real game time scenarios? So that will be interesting. He also talked about the red zone efficiency, which I think we talked about the last couple of weeks, and that was one of the things that he stressed that Auburn needed to get better at from last year. Is when you get in the red zone, you got to cash it in and you got to score points. And he talked about every drive needs to end in a kick, and he talked about that back in media days. But you need to be kicking a field goal, you need to be kicking an extra point, or you need to be punting the football. Every drive needs to end in some kind of kick, and it's okay to punt. It's okay to punt and play field position, and but getting in the red zone, you want to cash in touchdowns. If you can't, obviously field goals the next best option, but you don't want to come away with 0 points. And Auburn was not good in the red zone last year, and it showed, and it affected their win-loss total. And again, turnovers. I think Auburn, they put the ball on the ground 5 times against Ball State, only lost 1 of them, but still ball security is massively important. So those things have gotten better from last year, and they'll need to stay that way, especially when you go on the road with 2 of the toughest teams on your schedule in back-to-back weeks. All right, before we get to some more talk about what Coach Freeze said about South Alabama coming up on Saturday, I want to get to some of our partners here on the program. Sensagreen, for air that's cool and clean, call on Sensagreen. They are the carrier experts here in the state of Alabama, saving you thousands of dollars on new installs. If you need a new unit, a carrier unit is the one to go get, and Sensagreen is the group to call on. Again, really, really good deals going on right now. You just need to go ahead and reach out. And again, if you put one of these new units in, it's going to save you money on your power bill because it's more efficient. So call on Sensagreen, again, for a new carrier unit. Scout Program Management, a full construction management firm located in Birmingham, Alabama, working with municipalities and school systems and all different types of businesses on their big major projects, hundreds of thousands of dollars up to millions of dollars. I've watched them work in person. They hold people accountable. They make sure your project is done correctly and up to spec, and they'll take you from the pre-construction phase all the way to the finished product. So call on Scout Program Management located in Birmingham, Alabama. And Bunkers on East Glen, downtown Auburn. What a great place to go hang out with your buddies, with your family, rent one of the simulator bays, play all the different games. Got 2 bars there. The food is outstanding. Faith and I plan on being over there possibly Thursday. We'll let everybody know more as the week goes on, but looking forward always to getting back to Bunkers. Be looking for the new commercial that we'll be pushing out because our buddy Justin got over there and got some footage Friday. They had a massive event, big crowd, live music. Go check them out there on East Glen. Plenty of places to park. 50 parking spots there in the parking deck, and you'll be glad you did. Check out Bunkers. If you haven't, I don't know what you're waiting on. I say that every day, I know. But make sure you go check out Bunkers. Okay, before I get off this morning, I'm going to go head over to the complex for practice here in just a little bit. But talking about, South Alabama's offense, talking about their quarterback, Bishop Davenport, being very athletic, being very multiple on offense with motion shifts, things that make you think and make you check before you know it. you're not careful, you've made the wrong check, and one of those guys that can really run is hurting you. And again, he talked about Paul Petrino. He said, I think Paul Petrino does a really nice job with the scheme, and he's got guys that can run and make plays, and a running back that was an SEC transfer, a really talented kid, the one I talked about in the beginning of the show, Kentrell Bullock, an Ole Miss transfer a couple of years ago, was there at South Alabama last year, rushed for over 800 yards and 7 touchdowns. Already off to a really good start in 2 games with 234 yards and 3 touchdowns on 47 carries. So he's going to get his opportunities on Saturday, he said. But a quarterback that is athletic and solid, offensive line, they think that, it's definitely going to be a challenge, and Auburn's going to have to be ready to play. Again, this is not Ball State. It's not Georgia either, but it's not Ball State. And, again, this team has pulled upsets before. And if you don't take them serious, you could be their next victim. And you talk about throwing things off the track or running the train off the track, and show up and you're complacent at 11:45 on Saturday and let a team like South Alabama hang around. We've seen this happen before with Auburn over the years. Jacksonville State, Utah State. I mean, I can go down the list where Auburn's had to come from behind late and win games. South Alabama is chomping at the bit for an opportunity to come up here and get a program-defining win in state. I mean, they would love nothing more than to roll into Jordan-Hare Stadium and upset Auburn. And, again, they have nothing to lose. And they've got good football players, and they've got good coaches. So they're going to be ready to go. And Auburn needs to improve on what they've done the last couple of weeks and continue to get better, because, I mean, not to look past South Alabama, but we all know what's on the horizon. We know what's coming in a couple of weeks. And that Oklahoma team passed a big test this past Saturday against Michigan, and so we'll see how that plays out. And following that, you got to go right back on the road and play Texas A&M. So, all right, so that's really the update. Again, Durell Robinson out for an extended amount of time with a freak injury that had blood pooling on one of his thighs. So had to have an incision there. Don't know when his timetable is to come back. And Damari Austin is a game time decision. So we'll just have to play it by ear. Hopefully we'll know more today after practice. Faith and I will be on here, and we'll be pushing that video out as soon as we leave the complex. So make sure you tune that in. If you have not subscribed to our podcast, please do so. Again, our YouTube channel, we appreciate it. All of you out there that have done that so far, again, we say it every single day, but we mean it. We appreciate all that you've done out there by doing that. So really, really helps us out if you hit that like button as well. Okay, a couple more of our partners. Old Number One Customs, they're finishing up our project here, our master bathroom rebuild, remodel. Man, it is taking shape. It is exciting to see it coming together. If you're thinking about a bathroom, kitchen, bedroom, outdoor living space, you need to call Old Number One Customs, 334-752-6162. I promise you, go check them out. They're the best in the business. You will be glad that you did. And JFA Blue Plumbing, 844-JFA Blue for the home Atlas water filter duo, $1,599 installed, out the door, purified water in your house, the sister company to Old Number One Customs. Check them out. They'll install that water filter system in your house, and you will be drinking purified water. Your pets will. Everything will be nice. So you need to go ahead and get that done. And Oliver Ross, my good friend, Mark Gilliland and his staff, licensed and experienced bartenders coming to your tailgate. You need to hire them. You'll be the talk of all your tailgate friends. They'll come set everything up. They'll serve everything. They'll break it down, take it out. You don't have to worry about it. Also, parties, private parties, up to major conventions of 20 to 30 to 40,000 people. They can handle it all. Licensed, trained bartenders coming to handle your next event. So call on Oliver Ross. You will be glad that you did. Okay, that's going to wrap it up this morning. Again, getting on a little early this morning. You're seeing it at 8, but had to get up this morning to get on here. Didn't have a chance to record last night. Got in late from a trip. And so Faith and I are headed over to practice this morning. And we'll give you a report here shortly as soon as we leave. All right. Again, appreciate all of you out there each and every day. As Faith would say, we hope everybody has the best day ever. I don't do as well as her, but I'll give it a shot. And a